Weird nature facts. Blue American rabbit was developed in 1917 by Louis H. Salisbury. Although it's natural, he never revealed what breeds he used to create this variety. In 1998, Honduras built a bridge over the Choluteca River, but the water was rerouted by Hurricane Mitch that same year. This mutated octopus with 85 tentacles was captured on an island near Japan. Known for its protrusible jaw and nail-like teeth, the goblin shark has only been seen about 50 times since its discovery in 1897. In 1493, Christopher Columbus mistook manatees for mermaids and wrote, "They're not so beautiful as they're said to be, since their faces have some masculine traits." Morbidly wholesome. In 2014, an 11-year-old boy was in the passenger seat when his 79-year-old grandfather collapsed at the wheel. Using skills he picked up from playing Grand Theft Auto, the boy managed to grab the wheel and steer the car to safety until help arrived. After the loss of their newborn daughter, Nathan Steffel and his wife were devastated that they never got to see her without tubes. So Nathan went to Reddit to see if anyone would be willing to Photoshop this image. His request was quickly flooded with drawings, paintings, and support from thousands of Redditors. In 2014, 3-year-old Marina Chikatova survived in the Siberian wilderness for 11 days with no one other than her dog for company. She ate wild berries, drank from a river, and curled up with her dog for warmth. She was saved when her dog managed to find her village and guide rescuers toward her. Morbidly wholesome. A flight attendant named Sheila Frederick noticed a terrified girl who was accompanied by an older man on a flight. Sheila discreetly told the girl to go to the bathroom, where she left a note asking if she was okay. The girl went to the bathroom and wrote, "I need help" on the note. The police were waiting when the plane landed, and the girl was saved from a human trafficker. This is a photo of a police canine being saluted by officers before entering the vet to be put down. This mother horse lost her baby while in labor. 2 days later, she was given a foal who had lost her mother, and this was the photo taken after they were introduced. A 67-year-old named Dorothy Fletcher once had a heart attack while on a flight. When a stewardess asked if there was a doctor on the flight, 15 people stood up. They happened to be on their way to a cardiology conference and the woman was saved. Weirdest crime facts. This photo is the definition of fear. An LA woman was evading a home intruder by hiding on her roof, and she managed to grab her phone and dial 911. She said that her greatest fear was that he would try to hide where she was hiding. Juan Catalan was put on death row and spent nearly 6 months in prison for the murder of a teenage girl. He was the prime suspect only until his lawyer came across some unused footage from Curb Your Enthusiasm. The footage proved that Catalan had been at a Dodgers game with his daughter at the time of the murder. Joe Arity was a mentally disabled 23-year-old man who was falsely executed for the rape and murder of a teenage girl in 1939. Joe was known as the happiest man on death row, for he likely didn't even know that he was being put to death. For his last meal, he requested ice cream, and even saved some for after the execution. Morbid facts. Whiskey distiller Jack Daniel died after kicking his safe because he forgot his combination. He injured his big toe and it got infected, so he had to have his foot amputated. But the infection spread to the rest of his system and he died from complications. On 9/11, there was only one American in space. And this is the photo he took from the International Space Station. The first person to jump off the Brooklyn Bridge was a professional high diver. He wanted to demonstrate that people don't die simply from falling through the air, and he was correct. He fell 135 feet through the air without a problem, but hitting the water killed him immediately. Morbid facts. After donating blood for the first time, a 21-year-old Canadian woman has lost the ability to move her right arm. The nurse accidentally drew blood from an artery instead of a vein, causing damage that was permanent. During his reign, Genghis Khan killed so many people that it was actually good for the environment. The 40 million or so deaths he was responsible for dropped the Earth's carbon levels by an estimated 700 million tons. Morgan Freeman says he always wears his earrings because they're worth just enough to pay for a coffin if he happened to die in a strange place. Back in the 1500s, doctors thought that cutting open infants' gums would encourage their teeth to grow. Unfortunately, many of these children ended up dying due to severe mouth infections. Morbidly wholesome. This is a photo of doctors bowing to an 11-year-old boy who died from an aneurysm. They are bowing because by donating his organs, the boy saved the lives of 4 other children. California officer Kevin Briggs has stopped more than 200 people from committing suicide on the Golden Gate Bridge. He is nicknamed the Guardian of the Golden Gate. This is a Vietnam War veteran fulfilling a promise to an old friend, keeping watch one last time. There's a biker group from Arizona who help keep victims of child abuse safe from their abusers while they're being prosecuted. The bikers guard the child's home at night if the abuser's not yet in jail. They also go to court with the child and shield them so that they don't have to look at their abuser. Weird war facts. These photos show what 4 years of fighting in World War II did to the face of a young Soviet man. As the museum caption reads, the first face looks at you, the second face looks through you. During World War I, a carrier pigeon named Cher Ami was shot, blinded, and had her leg blown off. But she was still able to deliver an important message and save the lives of nearly 200 men. About 2,000 tons of unexploded bombs are still found in Germany each year. In the Vietnam War, American sniper Carlos Hathcock was a legend in the U.S. Marine Corps with his 93 confirmed kills. During one instance, he volunteered to crawl for 3 days across 2,000 meters of open field containing an enemy headquarters. He took a single shot that killed a North Vietnamese general and crawled back out without being spotted. Here are some disturbing facts that you probably didn't know about the Titanic. The day after the Titanic sank, various newspapers reported that the ship hit an iceberg, but no lives were lost. It wasn't long before they realized what terrible mistakes they had made. Just like in the movie, a group of musicians actually did continue playing as the ship went down. They could have chosen to board a lifeboat, but instead decided to calm the other passengers with their music. The chief baker on the ship, Charles Joffin, survived in the icy waters for 2 hours before he was rescued. He claimed he didn't feel cold because of all the whiskey he drank that night. 16-year-old survivor Catherine Gilnag didn't realize that it was a serious situation until she reached New York. She thought that disembarking in lifeboats and being picked up by another ship was all just part of the journey. Morbid facts. A teen boy injected himself with mercury at least 3 times while attempting to convert his bones into metal after watching X-Men Origins Wolverine. He was also intentionally bitten by spiders multiple times so that he could become Spider-Man. This endangered baby dolphin died shortly after this photo was taken because swimmers were passing it around for selfies. A man once threw a mouse into a pile of burning leaves. The mouse then ran into the man's home while still on fire and burned the entire house down. When people are electrocuted and thrown far distances, it is the result of sudden violent muscle contractions, not the shock itself. This has raised questions about the actual strength and subconscious capabilities of the muscles of the human body. Morbid facts. In 1969, an astrologer warned John Lennon that he would be shot on an island. John was so disturbed by this that it caused him to cancel an upcoming yacht trip around the Greek islands. 11 years later, John Lennon would be shot and killed on the island of Manhattan. The day after Robin Williams died, the National Suicide Prevention Hotline received the highest number of calls in its history. It is estimated that there are still approximately 40 million slaves in the world today. About 70% of them are women, while 25% of them are children. The Bunker brothers were a pair of conjoined twins who made the term Siamese twins popular. They were a famous sideshow act in North Carolina, until one day one of the brothers woke up to find that his twin had died. In a panic, he called for a doctor to perform an emergency separation, but it was already too late. He would die just 3 hours after his brother. Weird movie facts. The train crash in The Fugitive was extremely dangerous and expensive to shoot because they crashed an actual train into an actual bus at full speed. Harrison Ford tore his ACL while filming the scene, and his limp throughout the rest of the movie was real. And the wreckage of the train is still sitting in the woods of North Carolina today. Stephen King famously hated the film version of The Shining, but when he saw Shawshank Redemption, he called it not just one of the best movies done for my work, but a potential movie classic. Danny DeVito not only starred in the movie Matilda, but also directed it. He also took care of the actress who played Matilda while her mother was in the hospital with cancer. He even got an advanced copy of the film for her mother to watch before she succumbed to her illness. Morbid facts. 8,500 feet up the slope of Mount Everest, a creepy marker serves as a guide for climbers. Known as the Green Boots, everyone approaching the summit from the north side must pass by Suang Paljor's body. It's seen as a milestone because it's an indication of just how close one is to the top of the mountain. A 17-year-old boy from Mexico City died after his girlfriend gave him a hickey. The suction resulted in a blood clot that traveled to the brain, eventually causing a stroke. In 2003, David and Tina Watson were scuba diving on their honeymoon in the Great Barrier Reef. When currents became too rough, David, an experienced diver, swam to the surface while his wife struggled in panic. This photo captures Tina lying helplessly on the sea floor in her final moments before drowning. Weirdest nature facts. Villagers along the Niger River were losing cows and people at such an alarming rate that they had to call in the National Army. The culprit ended up being a 22-foot-long, 2,500-pound monster crocodile. If you were to swim near a pod of narwhals and happen to hear one whistle, it might be the last thing that you ever heard. The sounds that narwhals make are so loud that they're said to be deafening to humans. These are what the muscles look like on a fully grown male Siberian tiger. These are what the vestigial limbs of a beluga whale look like. When sailors first explored the Arctic waters, they understandably mistook beluga whales for real-life mermaids. The great patoo is an incredibly rare tree-dwelling bird from tropical America. The bird is known for its creepy nocturnal cries as well as the fact that it looks like an alien. Here are the crazy origins behind some ancient urban legends. This is a snapping turtle buried in mud after coming out of hibernation. It's where the Native American legend of the earth being brought into existence and carried on the shell of a giant turtle came from. This is the skull of an elephant. In ancient Greece, the nasal cavity in the cranium was mistaken for an eye hole, and thus the legend of the Cyclops was born. Similarly, it's believed that dragons originated from ancient peoples discovering fossils of dinosaurs. This illusion is an example of a fata morgana. It's a mirage that causes the object to appear distorted due to bending rays of light. It can happen to nearly any large distant object, including boats, buildings, and islands. It's also believed that this illusion created the myth of the Flying Dutchman. Weird nature facts. Dolphins love interacting with pregnant women because they communicate using ultrasound. Not only can they hear the mother's heartbeat, but also the baby's, and they find this very fascinating. For more than 20 years, a dolphin named Pelorus Jack regularly guided ships through treacherous waters until his disappearance in 1912. A man from Argentina posted this photo of a giant mosquito called a gallinipper that his mother killed in her home. While its bite can be very painful, it's not nearly as dangerous as the smaller mosquito, which can transmit yellow fever and Zika virus. Naka Cave in Thailand closely resembles a giant petrified snake. The average silverback gorilla is 4 to 9 times stronger than the average human male. They can deadlift 1,800 pounds and their grip can crush the skull of a crocodile. Weird war facts. In 1976, Princeton undergraduate John Aristotle Phillips wrote his thesis on how to build an atomic bomb. He ended up getting an A on the paper, but never got it back because it was seized by the FBI. During World War II, the London Zoo had to kill all of its venomous animals in case the zoo was bombed and the animals escaped. During that same war, Juliana the Great Dane was awarded the Blue Cross Medal after putting out a bomb by peeing on it. In 2008, a British Marine named Matthew Croucher flung himself back first onto a grenade to save his comrades. Though the explosion threw him into the air, the blast was absorbed by his rucksack. He was prepared to die but managed to walk away with nothing but a nosebleed and a headache. Weird crime facts. In 2015, a woman from Florida was being held hostage by her boyfriend, but luckily she convinced him to let her order a pizza using the Pizza Hut app. In the space for special requests, she wrote, "Please help, get 911 to me." Police soon arrived at the location and the abusive boyfriend was arrested. When he was 17 years old, Ozzy Osbourne was arrested for stealing women's underwear. But his father refused to pay the fine and Ozzy spent 6 weeks in jail. He later called it one of the best lessons of his life. 2 thieves once broke into a man's home in England and stole his laptop. But in his files, they found some serious child abuse material and brought the laptop to police. The pedophile got 3 years in jail and the burglars served 12 months of community service. Weird war facts. During his time with the Air Force, the famous Johnny Cash worked as a Morse code operator. This led to him intercepting and reporting on the news from the Soviet Union that Joseph Stalin had died. In fact, Johnny Cash might have been the first American to hear of Stalin's passing. During World War I, the life of a 17-year-old British soldier was saved when his pocket Bible stopped a bullet. The book has been passed down through his family and still has the bullet inside, about 50 pages from the end. During World War II, there was a Nazi interrogator named Hans Scharf who never tortured his prisoners to get information. Instead, he told them jokes, brought them homemade food, and took them on nature walks. His techniques were very successful as he was known as the master interrogator of Nazi Germany. Weird history facts. Hidden behind Mount Rushmore is a secret vault that holds important information about the United States and its history. The room is not accessible to the public, but is otherwise left as a record for people thousands of years from now who may wonder how and why Mount Rushmore was carved. Many believe that the vault stores classified documents on suspicious topics such as Area 51. This is a photo from 1955 of a woman being ticketed for wearing a bikini on a public beach in Italy. Dated to 1504, this carved ostrich egg is the oldest known depiction of the New World. The globe shows North America as an unnamed group of scattered islands. There are also depictions of ships, monsters, and 71 named places. It even contains the sentence Hic sunt dracones, which translates to Here lies dragons. Morbid facts. When Ben Franklin's London home was renovated in 1998, 15 human bodies, including 6 children, were discovered in the basement. Archaeologists agree that they were buried at the same time Franklin had been living in the home. While police initially thought it was the work of a serial killer, the bodies were likely stolen by his friend William Hewson so that he could study anatomy. When Joseph Stalin was dying, his private physician was not available. This is because he was already being tortured in the KGB headquarters for suggesting that Stalin get more bed rest. A Thai woman once accidentally slipped on mud, grabbed a naked live wire, and was electrocuted to death. After the funeral, her sister was showing her neighbors how the accident happened. Suddenly, she herself slipped, grabbed the same live wire, and was also electrocuted to death. Morbid facts. Pablo Picasso used to carry around a revolver loaded with blanks, and when people asked him about the meaning of his paintings, he would pretend to shoot them in the face. In 2012, 66-year-old Stevie Crecelius went to the hospital thinking he had a kidney stone. During that visit, he would find out that he actually had a strange condition and had been a woman his whole life. Nicolas Cage has already bought his grave, and it's a 9-foot-tall pyramid in Louisiana. In 2005, a suicidal man in California parked his car in front of a commuter train. The train hit his car but derailed and collided with 2 additional trains. The accident resulted in 11 deaths and nearly 200 injuries, but the man survived and was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Morbid facts. Masabumi Hosono was the only Japanese passenger on the Titanic, and he managed to survive the sinking. But after returning to his home country, he was publicly condemned and lost his job for not going down with the other passengers. President JFK's brain has been missing from the National Archives for more than 50 years. Stanley Meyer was one of the first to invent a car that was completely powered by water. He claimed that it was capable of traveling across the country on just 72 liters of tap water, which would have revolutionized the auto industry and made gasoline obsolete. But shortly after creating the car, Stanley died while meeting with investors. His brother said he ran out of the restaurant choking, looked at him and said, "They've poisoned me." Morbidly wholesome. A pig named Lulu saved her owner's life while the woman was having a heart attack. The pig heard the cries of pain, ran outside into the road, and played dead to stop the traffic. One driver stopped, the pig led him to the trailer, and he called 911 after hearing the woman screaming. This is a photo of two surgeons after removing a set of brain tumors during a 32-hour surgery. In 2001, an abused lion cub, tiger cub, and bear cub were all found in a drug dealer's basement. They were all moved to Noah's Ark Sanctuary in Georgia and became inseparable friends for life. In 2012, Anthony Omari took a machete to the face while defending a Kenyan orphanage against attacking thieves. He saved 37 orphans, and his story helped raise over $80,000 for the orphanage. Weird war facts. Lieutenant Colonel Jack Churchill held 42 Nazi soldiers hostage while wielding a sword during a 1942 raid in occupied Norway. Nicknamed Mad Jack, he also had the only confirmed kill of a Nazi while using a longbow. During World War II, Dr. Eugene Lazowski saved the lives of over 8,000 Jews in the town of Rosvedov. He managed to fake a typhus epidemic that prevented the Nazis from entering the town. Several indigenous tribes on Pacific Islands thought that cargo dropped for U.S. soldiers during World War II were gifts from the gods. Once American soldiers left, many of these islanders built ceremonial planes and airstrips so that God would drop them more cargo. They're known as cargo cults, and many of them are still active today. Weird crime facts. For a group of kids in London, England, a day of hunting for Easter eggs quickly turned into a thrilling hunt for burglars. A break-in at a nearby building brought a dramatic police helicopter chase right to them. With a chopper overhead and two men suddenly running through the field, the children soon realized they were witnessing a police pursuit. So they dropped to the ground and laid in an arrow formation to direct authorities in the right direction. Woody Harrelson's father, Charles, was a professional hitman who once assassinated a federal judge. In 1983, a man confessed to the murder of his wife after a female skull was found in a peat bog near his home. He was convicted of her 1961 murder based on this confession. But it turned out that the skull actually belonged to a woman who had died nearly 1,800 years earlier. The man was convicted anyway. Morbidly wholesome. Alfred Nobel was known for his 300-plus patents, including dynamite. When Alfred's brother died in 1888, a local newspaper confused him with Alfred and wrote his obituary. It condemned Alfred for his invention of explosives and portrayed him as a horrible person. Alfred, still being alive, decided to leave a better legacy for himself. So in 1895, he set aside the bulk of his estate to establish the Nobel Prize. Knowing he couldn't swim, running back Joe Delaney died while attempting to save 3 children from drowning in 1983. In 1995, a Russian dog survived a car crash that his owners died in. Despite attempts to adopt him, the dog refused to leave the site of the accident. Rain or shine, he waited for them every day until dying 7 years later. The city informally adopted the dog and dedicated a statue to it called Loyalty. Here are some wild facts that I bet you didn't learn in history class. The first known photograph of a person was taken in 1838. It only happened because a man and his shoe shiner were the only people still enough on a busy street to show up in the 10-minute exposure. In 1937, 2 women wore shorts out in public for the first time. They drew a massive amount of male attention and even caused a car accident. The Great Pyramid of Giza was the tallest building in the world for nearly 4,000 years until the Lincoln Cathedral was built in 1311. When trains were first introduced in the US, women were afraid to ride in them. This is because many people believed that women's bodies were not designed to go 50 miles an hour, and that their uteruses would fly out of their bodies if they were accelerated to that speed. Weird nature facts. There's a tribe in India that has learned how to train the roots of fig trees to create natural suspension bridges. These bridges can span over 100 feet and last up to 600 years. After colliding with a propeller, this loggerhead sea turtle received a 3D printed titanium jaw. The lobster has changed very little over the last 100 million years and is known for its unusual anatomy. Its brain is located in its throat, its teeth are in its stomach, and its kidneys are in its head. It also hears using its legs and tastes with its feet. The red-crested tree rat is a species of rodent that was thought to be extinct for over 100 years. But in 2011, one appeared outside of an eco lodge in Colombia and let researchers photograph it for 2 hours. It then disappeared into the night, never to be seen again. Weird history facts. In 1961, the son of U.S. Vice President Nelson Rockefeller went missing during an expedition in Papua New Guinea. Although he was declared legally dead in 1964 since his body was never recovered, some say this is him as part of a cannibalistic tribe in 1969. Up until 1974, it was illegal to appear in public in the city of Chicago if you were ugly. Each offense was subject to a $1 fine, which would be $20 today. Years before the introduction of colored photographs, a chemist and photographer from Russia created the most basic version of one. He combined 3 regular black and white photos, each through a filter of red, green, and blue. He then merged them to create a beautiful image with color. This image taken by him is over 100 years old. Weird crime facts. In 2008, police in Finland found a dead mosquito inside of a stolen car. So they tested the blood from the mosquito's last meal and used it to successfully identify the thief. In 1979, 16-year-old Brenda Spencer shot and killed the principal and a custodian at her school while injuring 9 others, including a policeman. When asked what her motive was for the shooting, she replied, "I don't like Mondays." This is a photo from 1999 of a divorcing couple splitting their Beanie Babies in front of a judge in court. Serial killer Edmund Kemper became friends with the very police officers that were investigating his murders. They called him Big Ed at the local bar and never would have suspected him in 1,000 years. When he initially confessed, they laughed at him because they thought he was pulling a prank. Subscribe to Morbid University if you want to understand this world a little better.